Well, thank you, friends. Shabbat Shalom. As I said to myself, get back, get back, get back to where I belong. And it is great to be back. Although I did come back to several feet of snow, and I gotta tell you, it's too early for that. Is it May yet? Friends, I am sickened by the Jerusalem synagogue slaughter at the beginning of the week. The execution of the rabbis of prayer and other observers is unconscionable. And friends, this is not a continuation of the Ishmael Isaac story. It's not about brother to brother. It's not about the Jacob Esau rivalry. This is cold-blooded insanity. Zichronam livracha. May their memory be a blessing. Now, on a more pleasant note, it was Bruce's birthday the other day, and I hope it was a great one. I am only sorry that I could not have been there to celebrate it with him. My memory keeps taking me back a few years when I showed up and we went to the Beatle photo exhibit. We also saw a movie which I forget we saw, and now I forget the name of, but I know it was fantastic, and it's always just fantastic to see him and to be with him. And I was thinking of you on your birthday. I hope it was fantastic for you. It was also great hearing from and seeing my old friend Taliesin. I am so glad you get so much from these weekly shows. And yes, it was done just for you. You knew it was done just for you. And thank you, Leah and Adam, for coming to see me. You are a beautiful couple. You have a fantastic dog in Rigby, and I love that name. I really enjoyed our brief time together, and you have chosen an amazing parsha to marry under. Acharei Mot Kedushim, the one that tells the people they are all holy. The legacy and the oldest tradition that we all still carry within us. We are at that time of the year when people are starting to gear up for next week's holiday, last year's Thanksgiving, the American Sukkot, a time for gratitude. And even in this world of evil and horror, we have so much to be grateful for. Friends, how sad we have to have more of this senseless violence. Let us all focus on the things we can be grateful for instead. And for those who are unaware, and we will talk about it more next week, the founding fathers of the United States did have Sukkot in mind when Thanksgiving was established. In this dirty old part of the city where the sun refused to shine, people tell me there ain't no use in trying. We gotta get out of this place. It's the last thing we ever do. We gotta get out of this place. Because, friends, there's a better life for me and you. Wow. I miss Eric Burden and the animals, and there is a better life for me and for you. It is waiting for you. All of you, my friends. It's a real pleasure to hear from Stephen Florence. Thank you so much for your kind words. And friends, how great we feel when we hear from old friends, or new friends for that matter, because kind words go so far and can act like a wormhole, transporting the saddest state to what a joy and gratitude in a nanosecond. I love that word, nanosecond. So please, greet everybody you know with kindness. Greet the stranger with kindness. You were once an alien. This week we continue to read about a family history, oft mistranslated as generations. We talked about the use of genealogies as a break between Torah sections. Friends, we are now encountering the second of the Toldot, the records. Now, Isaac is different from his father and his son. A great series of events distinguishes him from everybody else. He never leaves home or Canaan. He never fights. He has only one wife. His name stays the same. He wanders off and meditates. He lives the longest of the patriarchs, to 180 years old, actually. He was chosen for a sacred role. He was laid on an altar as a sacrifice. Imagine the effect that would have, and the effect it would have on his relationship with his father from that point on. He was a pacifist. He struck me as being very Buddha-like in many ways. Born a poor young country boy, Mother Nature's son, all day long, sitting singing songs for everyone. Okay, he wasn't born that poor. Now, he was married for the first and only time at age 40. A sacred age in Judaism, my friend. A mystical age. A biblical formula age. And you may have already started to think the math through. Married at 40, has his twins at 60, dies at 180 years old after blessing Jacob instead of Esau, which puts the twins at 120 years old before their stories even begin. So the time frame's not quite right. But like we said before, for all you biblical fact finders and checkers, do not get lost in the irreconcilable conundrum of minutiae. We're told Rebekah was infertile, like Sarai, and Isaac, not Sarah, Isaac, intervened and prayed to Yahweh, and she became pregnant. And friends, God spoke to her before he ever spoke to Isaac. Isaac was laid as a sacrifice, and God speaks to Rebekah first. And God told her the younger would dominate and be served by the older. At least that's how we've interpreted what was said. Genesis 25:23 says, the older, the younger will serve. So perhaps, instead of manipulating the situation, some believe Rebekah is simply fulfilling God's will. So this means the decision as to who's the number one son is still up to God. But friends, this understanding is based on a misunderstanding of the subtle, ambiguous biblical wording. It's fantastic. That's why the words are so important. See, the text does not in fact say that the elder son will serve the younger son, because in biblical Hebrew, the subject may either precede or follow the verb, and the object may also either precede or follow the verb. And what that means in English is that sometimes it's impossible to tell which word in a biblical verse is the subject and which is the object, especially if the verb is in poetry. And like any great Greek tragedy, the oracle here is in poetry and can mean the elder will serve the younger, or the elder, the younger will serve. And our biblical oracle of Delphi provides a prediction containing two opposite meanings, leaving the person who receives it, Rebekah, free to hear consciously or subconsciously whatever she wants to hear. It can be understood to mean that Jacob will serve Esau, or that Esau will serve Jacob. Perhaps Aeschylus and Sophocles were readers of the Torah. I will check with my good friend, the great scholar Martin. He will know. We are told first came Esau, all hairy and ruddy. Wow, I love that word. What a great word, ruddy. And then holding his heel came Jacob, from the Hebrew, Yaakov, Jacob, Akem, heel. Esau was a hunter and a man of the fields, and Jacob, a peaceful peacenik who lived in tents. And while the Torah takes a neutral view, neither offering praise nor negativity, our sages and commentators have tried desperately to denigrate Esau. But as you will see, my friends, to no avail. He became a victim of illusions of truth. It was Jacob whose behavior was despicable, from the matter of the birthright and the blessing. Jacob's behavior is an embarrassment, and he will witness, and we will witness along with him, as he creates a series of karmic debts that must be paid. You know that what you eat, you are. But what is sweet now turns so sour. What is amazing, friends, is that children in particular express surprise at what this patriarch does to his brother and to his father. Thank God they have simple innocence and a great sense of right and wrong. Now, never forget, one of the great qualities of the Tanakh is that none of its heroes is perfect. Not only are people not perfect, but also acts of deception can fester in a family, and they have consequences. Jacob will suffer some corresponding recompense for every deception that he commits. Now, friends, although we were introduced to the hint of sibling rivalry and its destructive energy with Cain and Abel, and with Ishmael and Isaac, this is it, coming home to roost and inculcating itself in our genetic makeup. Genesis 25:28. Isaac loved Esau, and Rebekah loved Jacob. A recipe for disaster. If this isn't the DNA of future problems, I don't know what is. Beware, parents. Try and love all your kids equally. They know. You knew. I'm reminded of that great song, Twins, by Me Three. We all have a part buried deep inside. Sometimes it's who we really are. Like taking the trip from Jekyll to Hyde, that hidden power nothing can bar. Everybody's got a twin inside. Everyone's a little split. Everybody's on an up and down ride, but no one seems to know where they fit. One day Esau came back from a futile day of hunting. He was hungry. And Jacob, seeing this, offered up a trade. Jacob gave bread and lentil stew to Esau in exchange for his birthright. Friends, this was quite significant in biblical times. A birthright. Oh, and that guarantees privilege, position, rights, and an order to things. It's in the concept of firstborn and all that it entails. And pretty well everywhere outside of North America, it still has significant meaning. Friends, you will see the ramifications of it again and again in the Torah. Now, once again, the Torah seems to be a little out of sequence. And there is this strange repetition story of famine, and God tells Isaac not to go to Egypt. So we see Isaac going to Abimelech, the Philistine king who we saw Abraham going to. And there's a verbatim repeat of Abraham and Sarai's "she's my sister" scene, this time enacted with Isaac and Rebekah. And the people of the place asked about his wife, and he said, "She's my sister," because he was afraid to say, "my wife," or else the people of the place will kill me for Rebekah, because she's good looking. And remember, friends, historically, there's no evidence that people were killed that way. Okay? Now, there are different thoughts about why this scene and story, which appears to be such a repetition of the other one, is here. And we can talk about it at another time. But don't let it take away from the essence of what this parsha is about, which is parenthood. Parenthood, my friends. Esau gets married at 40. And it would seem that his choice of Judith the Hittite disturbed his parents. Wow, when does that ever happen in real life? Because he finds out it's not what his parents wanted. He ultimately goes and gets another wife, his cousin, one of the daughters of Ishmael. But that too is another story. And he does that because he finds out that Jacob has been sent off to one of his cousins. Now, this strange section is actually just a lead-in, my friends. It leads to Genesis 27:1, the blessing of Esau, the great deception. Isaac has dimming vision. He's getting old. He's blind. He tells Esau, bring him game to eat before he blesses him. Rebekah overhears. Rebekah said to Jacob, her son, saying, here, I've heard your father speaking to Esau, your brother, saying, bring me game. Make me delicacies so I may eat, and I will bless you. We all know the story. We question whether Jacob's deception goes back to when Esau sold his birthright, or whether it's just in the treatment of his father. We justify. Esau was evil. He married a Hittite. His birthright meant nothing to him. The illusions of truth that we have all heard. But we don't take justification from others as an excuse, and we should not give them either. It's not right. Nowhere will you find evidence of a negative, hateful character. You will only see the opposite is true in the weeks to come. So his mother says to him in Genesis 27:8, listen to my voice. To what I'm commanding you, go to the flock and take 2 good goat kids for me. And I'll make them the kind of delicacies that your father loves. And bring them to your father. And he'll eat. So he'll bless you before his death. The deception begins. Friends, when Julius Caesar came back from conquering Gaul, he was camped at the Rubicon River, he fell into a very serious depression. After all, Alexander had conquered the world at the same age, and here was Caesar, forbidden from entering Rome with his army. Well, he crossed the Rubicon, knowing full well that such a move would plunge Rome into civil war. And he said, Alia jacta est, the die is cast. A phrase which still means that events have passed a point of no return, and that something inevitably has to happen. This instruction of Rebekah to Jacob was the biblical, the die is cast. And the entire history of Judaism, and perhaps its karma, was changed forever. Think of what you're about to witness, friends, and use your knowledge of what is to come and even what has been. And I will remind you again of Rashi's suggestion to never lose sight of the whole for the parts. Some ancient commentators had pointed out that Jacob allowed himself to be influenced and manipulated, perhaps to do something not in his intention, by a woman, as did Adam. And it will lead to serious repercussions. He will ensure that he feels and smells like Esau to perpetuate the deception on the blind Isaac. That in itself, blindness. The metaphor for our not seeing choices in life, and which we are ordered to ensure we never put anything in the way of a blind person. Don't forget, he will name his first 2 children for the 2 senses Isaac allowed himself to be deceived by. Sight. Reuben. See? Asan. Reuben. And Shimon, meaning here, sight and sound. He will be deceived by his uncle Laban, who readily accepted Rebekah's betrothal to Isaac and toiled for him for 14 years for wives and 20 years in all. And just as he took the birthright of the elder, he will pay for that when his wives go through a similar situation. He will live the rest of his life in fear. He fears getting caught in the deception, not because it is wrong, but because he is afraid he will be caught and cursed. Maybe my father will feel me, and I'll be like a trickster in his eyes, and I'll bring a curse on me, not a blessing. Like, wow, that's not the reason not to do something, for fear of being caught. You don't do it because it's wrong. And then he fears forever seeing Esau again, lest Esau seek retribution for what Jacob did. He fears his son's activities later because he feels they leave him at the mercy of others. An amazing chain of karmic debt. From the beginning, my friends, the father of the 12 tribes of Israel was motivated by fear. What determines and drives our motives, my friends? I love the glyph you often see for Pisces, the last stage of formalized religion, which often shows the 2 fish swimming in opposite directions, tied together in the middle, depicting soul and personality, or spirit and earthliness, and which the Japanese Tao so often reminds me of. the balance in life. But friends, when it comes to us, we move towards something or away from something. We move towards what we think will bring us pleasure and away from what we perceive as painful or fearful. And we run from what we fear or we hide from what we fear. And in both cases, our lives are robbed of the one thing that is irreplaceable: time. The sacredness of time cannot be underestimated in this book or in our lives. As you look back on your life, as you tell the story of your life, and please tell your family and your friends the story of your life. Don't make them use wheredoicomefrom.com somewhere down the road. What was your motivation? Were you motivated by fear? Did you move towards something or away from something? Were you fair? How'd your parents treat you? How did you treat your kids? You know, it's never too late to change some of these things. We see so many clues to our patriarch's perspective when we stop and read and look. When asked by Isaac how he fulfilled the request so fast, Jacob responded, "Because Yahweh, your God, made it happen for me." See, God is not his God yet. And we will see further on the conditions that he puts on God before accepting God as is. And we see how Isaac viewed things. And he said, the voice is the voice of Jacob. The hands are the hands of Esau. He didn't trust who he was with. The two senses, sight and sound, one he lost, one he ignored. He didn't trust himself. And he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like the hands of Esau, his brother, and he blessed him. Friends, he didn't recognize him, but he blessed him. Jacob wasn't Rich Little. He wasn't an impersonator. He put animal fur on his arm and on his neck to deceive his father. Why didn't Isaac trust his hearing or himself? He knew it was not Esau, but what does he do? He blesses him anyhow. And it was as Isaac finished blessing Jacob, and it was Jacob had just gone out from the presence of Isaac, his father, and Esau, his brother, came from his hunting. How cool is that? One's leaving, one's entering. If this were a film you were watching, you would be riveted to your seat in anticipation of what could happen. What if time, my friends? What if you actually knew nothing about what was going to happen? You began this book at the beginning and you were now here. You know nothing about wrestling with an angel. You know nothing about 12 tribes. You know nothing about a love for Rachel. You know nothing about an Exodus. Only a story of brothers, each favored by a parent, one deceiving the other and deceiving the parent who favors that other one. Would you be sitting there hoping the deceiver would be caught and that fairness and karma reigned supreme? And Isaac trembled, very big trembling. I ate some of it all before you came, and I blessed him. He will, in fact, be blessed. Friends, I shouldn't laugh. The sensitivity and the hurt is overwhelming. And we don't realize it yet, but this is actually the setup for our lesson in the importance of forgiveness. One of our greatest gifts, yet one of the hardest to encompass. And even though Esau asked to be blessed too, there was only one blessing. There's only one Holy Grail. There's only one blessing. Your brother came with deception, and he took your blessing. Esau then says, he's usurped me 2 times now. He's taken my birthright, and here now, he's taken my blessing. And Esau despised Jacob because of the blessing with which his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father will be soon. And then I'll kill Jacob, my brother. We judge. We project our view of the world on those around us, and that is how we see all of these events unfold. Our sages and commentators have tried so hard to demonize Esau because we actually see the unfairness in how he was treated. Still, we sit there and we wonder, would the deceiver be caught? Would there be just enough time for one to leave and the other to enter? Would the deceiver be the apparent victor? It's all setting up the sequel. Join me next week as we see. Well, this isn't a film or a serial, but the choice you make is the rhythm of your life. And to paraphrase the modern bard, people tell me it's a sin to know and feel too much within. I still believe he was my twin. He was born in spring, but I was born too late. Blame it on a simple twist of fate. Thank you, friends, for joining me. Let us pray for peace, for healing, for kindness. Let us exhibit these same things to all who are around us. Be well, be happy, be blessed, and get ready for Turkey, and get ready for something else. Saturday happens to be Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the beginning of the new Hebrew month. So a wonderful Kislev to all. And here is the sound of the shofar to announce it. Not the silver ones fashioned just for the announcement of the new moon, but a shofar nonetheless. Love you all. Thank you for coming. Shabbat shalom. I can't wait to see you again next week. Be well, my friends. Take care. Bye.